Okay, gentlemen, just look at the board, please. Excuse me, please. See, whenever you send a request, to the server, who receives the request? The request will be received by http.sys, which is your HTTP driver. I told you bad URL exceptions and all comes from there. Then it comes to IIS, and we just discussed okay, in simple what IIS actually does. I hope you all remember what IIS does. Okay. And here in IIS, okay, there is something called managed pipeline. Okay, so in IIS, that means the pipeline, whatever I'm going to show you, that IIS API deal and all these, there is something called managed pipeline also, which is available for you to use. We'll see that a little later. As of now, after IIS, I'm talking, right? The request, whatever you're making, it actually hits a route engine. A route, it hits a route engine. Is that fine? So when it comes into your MVC, first the route engine actually takes. There's a dictionary what it gets, route engine. Controller name is this. Action is this. Is it clear? Okay. ID is this. So whatever information you're trying to pass, your route engine gets that complete dictionary. The route values are evaluated by the route engine. And route engine is actually searching for a controller. It will tell, route engine will tell clearly, this is the controller I'm looking for. To whom it will tell? It will actually tell this to a factory. To a factory called controller factory. So it gives you controller factory. So we actually, the route tells this is the controller I'm looking for. This information gets into a controller factory. What is a factory? Excuse me. What exactly is a factory? Factory is something which is going to produce an object for you. Now I want a controller object. So we are requesting a controller factory to identify a controller called home or about or contact or whatever controller you want. We are looking for controller factory. The controller factory tries to produce a controller. It actually looks for another entity called controller controller activator. Right? Controller activator. So this controller activator will do all the initializations which are required by your controller, and finally you'll actually hit your actual controller. यहाँ पे कंट्रोलर मिल जाएगा। So you'll get your controller. Once you get your controller, next what do you want? After getting your controller, next you want to get into your action. From controller, you tell what is the action you have to go, right? So now the controller object is created. Who creates the controller object? The controller factory. And all the initializations are done by controller activator, which activates the controller. And then the next step, what happens is we have to get into your action. Now, your action might take some parameters which we have to use, right? And those parameters have to get values from somewhere. Where the values will come? Excuse me. Where are these values coming from? Okay, so there are some bits and pieces available for you called value providers. Okay, there are some value providers. So you have forms, you have forms value provider, you have route data value provider, you have forms value provider, route data value provider, forms value provider, route data value provider, and then, yeah, help me. Okay, then query string, right? Query string value provider. Right, gentlemen? Query string value provider, and then file value provider. File. These are the four types of value providers for you, right? So I have set of value providers, forms value. I'll do one thing, guys. Sorry, guys. How is that? It's moving. Just give me a second. I made a blunder there. Make sense? Forms value provider. It's the same order in which it will be searched. That's why I'm trying to put it together. Route data value provider. Route data value provider. Then help me. Wow, this is good. Query string. Query string value provider. Then the file value provider. You're done? Okay, guys. That's all. These are the value providers available. Shall I move? Okay. The value providers. Okay, there are different types of value providers available. You all can utilize that. Okay, guys. There are different types of value providers which people can actually utilize. So that is neat and clean. Value providers. Okay. Now you have to understand one thing. Before I could invoke the action, there are value providers available for you. Okay, so route data value provider will look at all the route data collections, extract the value and try to feed. Forms value provider will look from form. Look at the order in which it's going to search. I've given the same order for you there, right? So how it's going to search, the order. How the values are searched in MVC. That's a question. These are the orders. Okay, I've given all 5 value providers, all the 5. This is one of the questions you are going to face generally. Okay, so first priorities for form, next for route data, next for query string, next for JSON, and next for file. Right? So that's how it's going to search for, right? So the same orders you people can have a look at. Okay. But on day one, we saw between route data and query string, which one takes the priority. If you have all 5, which one will take the priority, you can see on the board now. Right? So this should be absolutely neat, clean, and crisp. So far, so fine. Okay, gentlemen. Now what I'll do, is pretty simple. We have value providers. Now who's going to use this value provider? Somebody has to use the value provider, right? These value provider informations are actually uh, used by your model binder. All the informations of your value providers are actually used by you have a model binder. Your model binder uses the information of your value providers. So model binder is the one which will actually create that object. Excuse me. You had the person object, right? Okay, in the index action method in the previous example, you had a person object. Who will create that person object? It is your model binder. Is it clear? So model binder will search for the values in the forms, route data, all these value providers, and model binder creates that object which is required. Now, the controller, from the controller, you're telling which is the action to be invoked. which action has to be invoked. So that action invoker, there's an action invoker. There is an action invoker. Okay, there is an action invoker. What will happen? The action invoker is the one which will use the informations provided by the model binder. Okay, then we are going to invoke the action with the necessary parameters. So action invoker takes those informations, whatever are available, provided by the model binder, and I'm sorry. Okay, and we are trying to invoke the action. So action invoker is something which uses the information of the model binder. Okay, use the information of the model binder. And from this action, what do we do? What do we do? From the action, we talk to the model. We'll talk to the model. Okay, so model which is going to give you the model data. Should be fine. So we'll talk to the model, extract the information from the model. Extract the information from the model and give it to the right. So action will talk to here. And from here, we will be giving it to who? Okay, there is somebody who's taking your information. This gentleman is called as the view activator. Okay, this guy is going to decide which is the view to be used. So here we are with the view activator. The view activator. Is that fine, gentlemen? Is a view activator. So this view activator will actually look for your, you just activate your view, which view you want, that gets activated. Right, gentlemen, the view. Can I move? So we got the view. So this view, information is whatever we have. The view is constructed, view is identified. This view has to be processed now. Who will process the view? Who's going to process the view? Huh? View will be processed by view engine. Very good. So there will be a view engine. Okay. So what type of view engine you prefer? That depends. Gentlemen, so which view engine you prefer? Whether you prefer Razor engine, Spark, ASPX, you can prefer your engines. So this view engine will actually produce what? The view engine result. Great, somebody has learned and come. So it's going to produce a result object, which is your view engine result object. Okay, gentlemen, there's a view engine result which is actually produced. This view engine result is something which you are going to send it out to the client. Excuse me. So this is the request pipeline of MVC. Right, I have shown some extension points. The extension points are places where you can add your own codes. I'll stop the recording here.